Part 63. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 626. Luo Shen received a call from Lin Zongheng and asked him to come out to deliver the pass. Luo Shen left the venue without thinking too much, walked out of the main entrance of Yezai Pavilion and came to the parking lot. Luo Shen did not see Lin Zongheng's car around him, and was slightly confused, so he took out just as he was about to make a call on his phone. A deep voice appeared behind him. "Stop yelling and go to your car." Luo Shen could feel the pain coming from the sharp knife on his back and asked in a low voice. "Look." Before she could finish her words, the sharpness cut her back and clothes. Luo Shen didn't dare to speak anymore and walked to her car. She didn't dare to play any tricks. Go Depeo recognized her car. Luo Shen was forced into the back seat by Go Depeo. Then Luo Shen was tied up tightly with ropes, and a ball of smelly and disgusting rag was stuffed into her mouth. The car started slowly, and at this moment, Luo Shen heard Guan Yunbiao's roar. "Check each of them carefully for me. Just guard these cars for me. If something happens and my brother Han gets angry, don't blame me, Guan Yunbiao, for stripping you all. My eyes have been opened. If I encounter anyone who doesn't have a pass or is suspicious, I will tie him up directly. Today, I have special privileges." Luo Shen hesitated and wanted to shout, but Gu Depao punched Luo Shen in the face with his backhand. Then he looked at Guan Yunbiao not far outside the car and said fiercely, "Don't worry, bitch, I will skin this dog sooner or later." The Maserati left the Yashai Pavilion parking lot with a roar. The car was parked on the side of the road where Wu Siguan was planning to invest. Go Depeo grabbed Luo Shen's hair and dragged her out of the car. He untied the rope from her body. Luo Shen hurriedly he took off the rag from his mouth and was about to speak. The dark bullet hole was pressed against her forehead. Gu Depao said with a sinister smile. "Are you really that superior, Mrs. Lin? I tell you, bitch, if it weren't for time, I would have played with you right now, then killed you and thrown you down the mountain. Call Han Qian now and ask him to come over. Looking for you." Luo Shen gritted his teeth and whispered. "Lin Zongheng asked you to come." Snapped. A slap fell on her face, and then Go Depeo grabbed Luo Shen's hair and slammed it against the front hood of the car. There was a sharp pain, and Go Depeo grabbed Luo Shen's hair and said ferociously, "Believe it or not, I took off your clothes and asked you to walk back to the city and call Han Qian. Tell her that you are waiting for him here." Luo Shen was frightened and took out her cell phone tremblingly. Her nose and mouth were all bright red. When the call was dialed, Luo Shen said in a trembling voice, Han Qian, I'm on the road at Yashai Pavilion. Come here." On the phone, Han Qian seemed to be driving. He pondered for a long time and then smiled. "What's wrong, honey? You can't help but want to spend the night with me. Have you bought a condom?" Hearing Han Qian's voice, Luo Shen didn't know why, but her trembling heart suddenly calmed down, and she said softly, "I bought it, but I don't want you to take it with you." "Why?" "It's too tight. I'm afraid I'll strangle you." Go Depeo looked at Luo Shen with disdain, thinking that this woman was indeed a slut. Lin Zongheng's fiancée had an affair with Han Qian, and he had to envy Han Qian's grandson's good fortune. On the phone, Han Qian was silent again, and the sound of a lighter came and he said softly, "You bought it as a gift from someone else. Sent. I understand. I'll come over later and you can have some fun by yourself first." The call was hung up. Go Depeo heard that Han Qian was coming later and urged Luo Shen to continue calling. But this time the call was hung up. Go Depeo was so angry that he kicked Luo Shen in the abdomen. "Trash! Don't you know how to show off your coquettishness and seduce Han Qian to come over? Okay. He won't come over, right? I'll find a place to feel comfortable first. Go De Peo grabbed Luo Shen's hair and stuffed it into the back seat. Then he hit the butt of the gun and Luo Shen fainted. He wouldn't dare to do anything with a cannon on this road. The police car at the Yamen gate had just left and it might not come back anytime. He wanted to go back to the city to find a place. After months of holding back, he finally felt comfortable. At this moment, Han Qian is already on the road. He received a call from Feng Lun not long ago. Feng Lun's words were concise and to the point. Kui Li went to Yezai Pavilion. I'm going to find your favorite Jijing now. Feng Lun guessed many things correctly, but he ignored one thing. Jijing's community is one of the top security communities in the city. It is impossible to sneak into it secretly. Han Qian did not tell Jijing, but he called find another person you can trust. The phone rang again and Han Qian pressed the connect button. Qian, I have received Aunt Ji, and I am sending her to Director Qian as you instructed. Now Director Qian's 2 bodyguards are escorting me. There won't be any problems. After sending her, I will go to Yezai Pavilion to find you. No. You are at Director Qian's side. The big dog is in the Yezai Pavilion. I have enough people here. Remember. You must not leave the old housekeeper at Director Qian's house. You and your wife will stay with Aunt Ji. Don't do anything, and don't tell her what I'm doing. I'll go find her when I'm done. After hanging up the phone, Han Qian called Guan Degu. Brother Guan, I don't care what you are doing now, immediately take Nuan and the others to the office on the top floor of Yezai Pavilion. Go De Peo and Kui Li are both near Yezai Pavilion. If anyone calls you except my phone, don't leave. They. Good. Guan Yunbiao's answer was very straightforward. He hung up the phone. Guan Yunbiao took the walkie-talkie and called a few trustworthy brothers back to the party hall. Guan Yunbiao jogged all the way to Tu Xiao's side and lowered his head to explain. Tu Xiao's expression was dull and he nodded at Guan Yunbiao. He nodded, then smiled. Brothers and sisters, this place has nothing to do with us now. I have something to talk to you about. Regarding Han Qian, can Manager Ye find us a safe room? Han Qian's secret, warm eyes were filled with doubts, and Yu Shisai and Nursery Rhymes also had doubts on their faces. But Yan Qingqing was the first to stand up. Boss 2, please give me warmth and poetry. Let's go upstairs. Nuan frowned. Yan Hu, the party here. I told you to go upstairs, do you understand? The low roar frightened Wen Nuan. Tong Yao seemed to have guessed something. He held a girl upstairs with one hand and Yan Qingqing whispered. Boss 2, ask your younger brother to invite King Hu and King Si. Manager Ye, let's go with us. Just leave this place to Su Hongchang. You are also qualified to listen to Han Qian's affairs. Several women followed Yan Qingqing upstairs with confused eyes. Following them upstairs were a dozen bodyguards who sent several girls into the room. Guan Yunbiao stood at the door and drew out the short knife from his waist. Hook the cannon. Kui Li. I've long wanted to meet you too. In the room, Wen Nuan asked Tu Xiao curiously what secrets he knew about Han Qian. Tu Xiao was confused and didn't know how to speak. Wen was anxious. Boss 2, what are you doing? There are so many things going on down there, oh. I'm going down now. As soon as Dare took a step forward, her wrist was held by Yan Qingqing. Wen Nuan turned her head and looked at several of the most familiar women. Their faces all had a bit of worry. Wen was panicked. At this time, Tong Yao's face was very tangled. With struggle in her eyes, she opened her mouth. Wen, warmth, yes, I have a secret too. Xiao Nuan, just stay here quietly. I, Yan Qingqing, left my words here today. If you dare to cause trouble, I will beat you. If you even talk about nursery rhymes, shut up. It's not your turn to support me here. Yan Qingqing is like the head wife of an ancient family. She has already guessed that something happened in Yezai Pavilion, and she also knows that Tu Xiao brought them here because of Han Qian's intention, but she cannot say that her own heart can be tormented and uncomfortable. But she knew that she had to stabilize these girls. Not long after, Wu Qingxi walked in and smiled. "What's wrong?" "This is King Hu." "Qingxi, please sit down first." "Yates, please have someone bring you some tea and snacks." Seeing Yeji about to go out, Yan Qingqing growled. "I told you to tell the waiter to bring it over." Outside the door, Cai King Hu pressed bullets into the magazine one by one. Guan Degu swallowed his saliva while looking at the gun in Cai King Hu's hand. Click. Cai King Hu said indifferently as he loaded the pistol. "Kui Li or Go De Peo, tell me. I'm not as fragile as those frail Lin Daiyu in the room." Guan Yunbiao lowered his head and said nothing, while Cai King Hu closed his eyes and sighed. "That means both of them are here. What a shame." The Yamen gate surrounded this place with water, but in the end, people sneaked in. "Ha! Where is my husband-in-law? I have no idea." "I know, I'm going to find him now." After the words fell, the door was opened. Yan Qingqing walked out of the room and closed the door, looking at Cai King Hu coldly. "Put it away. Don't cause trouble. I don't want my man to be distracted from protecting you while solving a few miscellaneous things." Cai King Hu frowned. "Yan Qingqing. I'm going to protect my husband. Your husband is not as fragile as you think. Put the gun away and come in with me." "Yan. I'll let you and me come in." "Cai King Hu, let me tell you, today I, Yan Qingqing, am here. Unless I die, no one of you will be harmed. Come in." Cai King Hu took a deep breath, unloaded the pistol, turned off the safety, lowered his head and followed Yan Qingqing into the room. The big dog outside the door breathed a sigh of relief, lowered his head and muttered softly. "This Empress of the West Palace wants to be the queen." Snapped. After receiving a slap on the back of the head, Guan Degu quickly shut up. Then a voice came. "Brother dog, I'm very worried about Han Qian." Guan Yunbiao was slightly stunned and whispered. "I see." At this time, a white Panamera was driving up the mountain. Han Qian squinted at the lights in the distance. When he was only 20 meters away, he saw this purple Maserati. Han Qian slowed down the car. He quickly took out a cigarette and lit it, took a deep breath, and stepped on the accelerator the next second. When the two cars were less than 2 meters away, Han Qian hit Fang Qiang hard, and the Panamera crashed straight into the door of the Maserati's cab. He saw the guy driving the car. The two cars collided together. Go De Peo also saw Han Qian and took out his pistol and pointed it at Han Qian. Han Qian sneered and roared. "Come on. Shoot." Pressing the accelerator to the bottom, the car made a roar. The Panamera pushed the Maserati off the road, but he followed closely behind. At the moment of the fall, Han Qian had only one thought in his mind. "I have to give my mother-in-law a car as compensation." Two cars fell into the valley. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 627. Feng Lun goes to find Ji Zheng. Kui Li went to Yezai Pavilion to look for trouble. Go De Peo kidnapped Luo Shen. This is something Han Qian knows. When Luo Shen called, Han Qian guessed that she was kidnapped. Kui Li was not so boring. His lumpy character had no reason to kidnap Luo Shen. He preferred to shoot from a distance. Because Kui Li disliked women being wordy. It was very simple to know that Luo Shen had been kidnapped. This woman would only call him by his name when something serious happened. If she was flirting, she would call him temporary father-in-law. Coupled with her trembling voice, this was already wrong. Yesterday when I was flirting on the phone, I said, "No condom, she takes medicine." This woman was not joking. When Han Qian asked if she wanted to buy a condom, she said yes. This was the second problem. With her character and style, she would not say yes. Later Han Qian asked if he bought it himself or someone else. The word trap no longer refers to Durex and Jia Shivun, but to the trap of a trap. Luo Shen's answer was that it was sent by someone else. This sentence means that someone set a trap for the two of them. This is the third point that is wrong. In addition, Lin Zongheng intentionally or unintentionally wanted Han Qian to suspect that Luo Shen and Go Depeo had set a trap for him today. Han Qian already knew that Luo Shen was with Go Depeo. The reason why he said he would go there later was because he didn't want to prepare for Go Depeo. Time. What if Luo Shen really had a conspiracy with him? There are Cheng Jian, Niu Qiudong, Tu Xiao and Datu in Yezai Pavilion. If these girls are obedient, Kui Li will not have any chance. It is the wisest choice to choose Go Depao first. As for the choice of crashing the car, Han Qian is still not sure who got the big gun back. No matter who it is, the Luo Shen in the car is also at fault. The car crash was due to mental preparation, and the cliff fall was because Go Depeo had a gun in his hand. Han Qian only had a swing stick at his side. If he hadn't been hit just now and Go Depeo had fired, Han Qian would have died. Being killed is not as good as dying, and there is a Luo Shen accompanying him on the road to hell. The two cars slid off the cliff, and the passing vehicles on the road did not notice that there had been an accident. No street lights, no surveillance, and one more thing. It's raining. Thunder roared, and heavy rain fell as the car descended. Fortunately, the cliffs on this section of the road were not high, and the trees below were full of wild growth. The two cars slipped and did not collide, but the car was already upside down. Lamela has already fallen into disarray. Han Qian crawled out of the cab with blood on his face. He lay on the ground and tremblingly took out a cigarette and lit it. He held the stick tightly in his hand and just took a puff when two puff sounds came out in the darkness. Voice. Then the car exploded with sparks. Han Qian hurriedly threw the cigarette butt into the distance. Several gunshots rang out in the next second, and the bullets hit the spot where the cigarette butt hit. Han Qian wiped the rain from his face and shouted with a smile. Go Depeo, I didn't expect you to dare to come back. I told you that I will kill you when you come back. Ha ha ha, Han Qian, it's not certain who will be killed. I have a hostage in my hands. I'll give you 3 numbers. Come out now and let us duel openly. Don't be anxious, it's still a long time. Just wait until I finish loading the bullets. I have to say that your shooting skills are really bad. You haven't touched a gun a few times. As for Luo Shen, it should be Lin Zongheng who is worried about her, and what does it matter to me? Han Qian was looking for his phone. The screen of his smartphone was broken and it was no longer usable due to water damage. He remembered that Nokia was placed on the passenger seat, but he couldn't find it now. He lied to Go Depeo and said that he had it in his hand. The gun was meant to put some pressure on him. Judging from the sound, Go Depeo was not far away from him, and there was also news that he had a hostage in his hand. Go Depeo did not dare to drag the hostage away because Han Qian had shot him before. The phone could no longer be found. Han Qian knocked on the car door with a swing stick, and the sound of hooking a cannon was heard immediately. Lin Zongheng is worried? Ha ha ha, anyway, you and Luo Shen are going to die tonight. Let me tell you, it was Lin Zongheng who asked me to kill you too. Lin Zongheng asked me to kill Luo Shen in front of you, and asked me to make a kind of peace. Luo Shen plotted against you together, but I think it's too troublesome. Can't it be solved if both of you die? Han Qian lit a cigarette and put it in the car. He could see the spark through the glass. Worried about igniting the car, Han Qian also placed 2 stones on the left and right, and then took advantage of the sound of rain to get them into the bushes. Just as he was about to show his head, bullets hit the car. Damn, what does this grandson look like? Can you see this? Han Qian, stop hiding. I am not the only one who comes here to kill you tonight. If you die in my hands, I will give you a happy death. When the words came out, Han Qian cursed angrily. Do I know that you and Kui Li are colluding together? Kui Li? Who is Kui Li? No. Han Qian was a little confused. He hoped that Kui Li was here. This guy's head was no different from a piece of wood. As long as Feng Lun was not around him, Han Qian was confident that he would be fooled into lameness. But Kui Li was not here? Who else? Han Qian was silent again, and Go De Peo roared. Han Qian, I'll give you 3 numbers. If you don't come out, I'll cut Luoshan's face every time I shout a number. Remember? Luoshan's disfigurement will be caused by you. 3. 2. Okay, I'll come out right now. When Han Qian spoke, Luoshan, who had been silent all this time, shouted. Don't come out. I don't need you men to save me. I died because I was blind. I don't need you to save me. We have nothing to do with each other. After the words fell, a wailing sound came from her mouth. Han Qian took a deep breath and stood up, smiling. Go da pao, anyway, I'm the fish on your sticky board now. Can you let me be a sensible person? In fact, I don't have a gun. I'm just scaring you. Besides, it's raining so hard and I lost my phone. I'm covered in injuries woolen cloth. Han Qian saw Go De Peo and Luoshan. Luoshan was lying motionless on the ground, seemingly injured when he fell, while Go De Peo hid behind a tree without showing his head. Han Qian walked forward step by step. Right, there was a burning pain in my legs. Don't move. Don't move. After saying this, Han Qian hurriedly lay on the ground, and 2 bullets flew past his back. 7 shots. Han Qian said again. Go De Peo, how did you sneak into the Swan Lake Hotel for the first time? I know that you are connected with Wei Tiancheng. I am more curious about who wants you to kill me. Why do I feel that you are afraid of me? I don't have a gun anymore. Lin Zongheng told me that you can't believe a single punctuation mark in Han Qian's mouth. Throw the gun over, or I will kill Luoshan now. I really don't have a gun. As soon as he finished speaking, Han Qian stood up and ran away. Go De Peo held a pistol and fired at Han Qian. 12 shots. Fighting hard, he got up and rushed towards the cannon in the woods. If this guy still had bullets, then he would be unlucky. If he changed his pieces, this would be Han Qian's chance. Han Qian was grateful for the heavy rain. The sound of the heavy rain could cover his whereabouts a little. The difference between the 2 cars falling was only more than 10 meters. Go De Peo dragged an injured Luoshan as far as he could, and got into the jungle. Go De Peo replaced the bullets and roared. Han Qian! Come out! If you don't come out, I will kill Luoshan and make you feel guilty for the rest of your life. There was no other sound except the rustle of rain falling on the grass. Gu De Pao became a little anxious and roared again. Han Qian! Come out and I won't kill you. I'll tell you what you want to know. Also, not receiving any answer, Go De Peo was a little panicked. His panic was all reflected in Han Qian's eyes. Whenever the rain fell the most intensively, Han Qian would get closer to Go De Peo in the jungle. Now Luoshan could be seen lying at the feet of Go De Peo. Her body was stained with blood, and it was not sure where she was injured. Han Qian is waiting for the opportunity. Okay. Han Qian, if you don't come out, I will ruin this bitch's face right now. After saying this, Han Qian was about to stand up when he saw Luoshan suddenly hugging Go De Peo's leg and biting it down. Go Daepeo howled and swung the butt of his gun and hit Luo Shen on the head. At this moment, Han Qian moved. Regardless of the injury on his leg, he rushed out of the jungle and swung his stick to hit the cannon. The severe pain in his leg, coupled with the sudden appearance of Han Qian, when Go Daepeo panicked, the stick hit him accurately in the face. Han Qian was still confident at this distance of 3 to 5 meters, despite the rain and the stick. Confused by Go Daepeo's vision, Han Qian rushed forward, grabbed Go Daepeo's wrist and bit it. The smell of blood spread into his mouth, and the attack of Gouda cannon came from the back of his head again and again, but Han Qian refused to let go, and the Luo Shen lying on the ground was also biting. Bah! The pistol fell into the water on the ground. Han Qian kicked the pistol away, and then punched Go Daepeo in the face. Before the guy could recover, he stretched out his hands to grab Go Daepeo's hair. A headbutt. Han Qian almost died from the pain here. His injury was on his forehead, but he had no time to care about the wounds on his body. He hit Go Daepeo on the forehead again and again. Go Daepeo was already confused by the impact, but Han Qian had not vented yet. The anger in my heart. He had wanted to kill this guy a long time ago. He grabbed Gouda cannon by his hair and dragged him along, then slammed him against a tree. Can the hook cannon be used? Wrong. Han Qian had discovered as early as the last time Suliang and Guan Degu beat him together that Go Daepeo was not suitable to be a gangster at all. He was timid, poor in skills, and had no education. The only thing that scared people was his lingering ghost. But Han Qian is not afraid of this. He dares to kill people and is afraid that your ghost will still linger. Go Daepeo slumped to the ground. Han Qian straightened his head and said with a sinister smile, "Have you ever seen football mentioned?" As soon as he finished speaking, Han Qian slapped Go Daepeo on the head, and then straightened his position again. When he was about to take action, someone grabbed his leg. Luo Shen grabbed Han Qian's trouser leg with one hand and said weakly, Someone passed, came over." As he finished speaking, Han Qian heard a rustling sound. Click. There was a thunder, and Han Qian saw these two people, dressed in black, with strong bodies, holding a watermelon knife in each hand. Han Qian smiled. He's from Wei Tiancheng. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 628. Where is Han Qian? Still not contacted? Cheng Jin asked in a low voice into the phone. Li Jinhai on the other side of the phone was also a little anxious. I went to his house, but the door couldn't be opened. Zheng Jing, who was in charge of monitoring him, sent a text message saying that Han Qian had gone out around 4 o'clock. The phone was turned off, and I was sending someone to look for him. Hold on tight. Li Jinhai would not know that Zheng Jing had a gun pressed against the back of his head. On the second floor of Yezai Pavilion, Yan Qingqing told everyone about the misunderstanding when she and Han Qian met. She smiled happily but felt worried in her heart. At this time, Han Qian had many knife wounds on his body. These two people were much more professional than Gouda Pao. They didn't say a word. They just slashed. The stick in Han Qian's hand was bent. He stepped back step by step. The two of them were not impatient and cooperated. Very tacit understanding. Han Qian smiled. Brothers, what do you want? Money. I'll give you as much as you want. He then pointed at Luo Shen, who was lying on the ground pretending to be dead. She is very rich. Otherwise, if you take her away, you can extort 30 to 50 million yuan. After the words came out, the two people fell silent. After more than 10 seconds, one of them spoke. Thank you Mr. Han, we will do as you say, but only the dead can keep secrets. Why don't you two share the money? How about I help you kill one of them? Ah! The bright watermelon knife struck again. Han Qian swung his stick and knocked away the knife. However, the second knife followed. Han Qian had to give up the attack and retreat to dodge. The cooperation of these two people gave Han Qian no chance to fight back. Han Qian retreated step by step, and could only rely on the trees to avoid the attacks of the two people. They were determined to kill Han Qian and didn't care about Luo Shen's life or death. Han Qian leaned against the trees, looked down at the wound on his arm, panted and laughed. No, you didn't come out after having enough milk in your mother's arms. Do you think I don't dare to kill you too? Han Qian raised his left hand and took off his tattered vest. He tore it into a long strip and tied his right hand to the swing stick. The swing stick was already bent. The two guys who had done the dirty tricks didn't feel very well. They slashed at Han Qian's back. Hit in the chest with a stick. Although Han Qian saw blood, the stick also made the guy who didn't see blood feel uncomfortable. At this time, no one will think about what will happen after killing someone. Only surviving first is the most important thing. The two looked at each other, and while Han Qian was tying the knot with his teeth, they moved, one left and one right, and stabbed towards Han Qian up and down. Lightning pierced the sky, and the swing stick ignored the two bright sharp blades and hit him on the head. On the road to death, Han Qian did not look back, and no one walked in front of him. The man holding a watermelon knife and stabbing Han Qian's neck was frightened. If the stick fell on his head, he would definitely die. To get paid. The watermelon knife in his hand moved horizontally to block the swing of the stick. At this moment, Han Qian smiled and the stick passed by. There was a muffled sound. The stick fell on the back of the bent man under him, and the watermelon knife grazed Han Qian's side and pierced into the tree. Han Qian raised his leg and put it on the bent man's head. At the same time, the other man's knife he also stabbed towards Han Qian. The distance was so close that Han Qian could not dodge sideways, and the tip of the watermelon knife pierced Han Qian's right shoulder. Han Qian reached out and grabbed the man's wrist, and smashed the end of the handle of the stick in his right hand at the person underneath him again. It is quiet now. Han Qian raised his head and looked at the man whose wrist was held, and said with a sinister smile. Compared to being shot through the shoulder blade, this little pain is nothing. The man beneath him had been beaten unconscious. He fell into the water and kept shaking his head. The back of his head was smashed and the blood flowing out was accompanied by the rain. The man who was grabbed by the wrist struggled to pull out the knife, but was beaten. Han Qian held his wrist firmly and punched Han Qian's face one after another in anxiety. Blood stained his fists, but Han Qian was smiling. A punch landed on his face again, and Han Qian laughed. Ha ha ha, I really didn't expect Wei Tiancheng to let you two losers come and kill me, bye. As soon as he finished speaking, a hysterical roar came from behind the man. Ah! But it was too late at this time. Before the man could turn around, a dead branch as thick as an arm hit the man in the back of the head. The sword penetrated another point due to inertia. At this time, Luo Shen was covered in tatters, and his face and arms were covered in tatters. It was bright red. The rain washed it clean, and the bright red flowed out again. Han Qian didn't care so much. He swung his stick and hit the man who was sitting on the ground preparing to escape with a sap on the head. Blood flowed down the man's eyebrows. Han Qian breathed a sigh of relief, picked up the stick and bit it in his mouth, then took out the watermelon knife on his shoulder. The severe pain made him dizzy. His legs went weak and he knelt in the muddy water. Luo Shen dragged him. He crawled to Han Qian with a broken leg, tore a ribbon from the hem of his skirt and wrapped it around Han Qian's shoulders. Han Qian leaned against the big tree, breathing heavily. If you can move, just go and see if they have a phone on them. If not, it's a question whether we both can get out of here alive. Luo Shen endured the severe pain and groped around the two of them. When he raised his head again, his eyes were empty. Han Qian took a deep breath, picked up the stick that Luo Shen had waved and stood up, stepped forward and took Luo Shen's arm, saying in a deep voice, "Remember, I saved your life. If you let me know that you and Guda Pao conspired to kill me, Luo Shen, I will make you regret it for the rest of your life." Luo Shen shook her head and stood up with the help of Han Qian. Although the pain in her left leg made her want to take her own life, she still stood up, put her arm on Han Qian's shoulder, and whispered, "I'm going to kill Go De Pao, and I will carry this man's orders." Han Qian picked up the watermelon knife and handed it to Luo Shen. The two walked towards the place where Go De Pao fainted. Luo Shen said as they walked, "I was plotted this time. I never expected that Lin Zongheng wanted to kill me. If I leave here alive, I will give you a satisfactory explanation. As long as you live, Guda Pao is missing." When the words came out, Luo Shen suddenly raised her head. Guda Pao was lying here just now, but at this time there was nothing but water on the ground. She looked around in confusion, and Han Qian said softly, "The water on the ground is too deep. He must have woken up from being choked. Let's go. We have to take a detour to go up. Calling for help here will only make more people come to kill us too. Should I carry you? I can leave." Luo Shen disappeared into the woods step by step with a wooden stick. With the current state of their bodies, it was absolutely impossible for the two of them to climb up from here. They could only walk forward and find a suitable place to get on the road and call for help. The two disappeared into the woods, and the blue light flashed in the scrapped Maserati. Nokia was still persisting in its mission, but the owner was no longer there. About 10 minutes later, someone held the Nokia phone in his hand and pressed the connect button. An urgent voice came from the phone. "Brother Han, why did you answer the phone? Where are you? I will take people to find you now. What about Go Cannon and what about Kui Li? I have wanted to kill them both for a long time." "Kill me? Long ago? I am Kui Li. Wherever you are, I will go find you. Toot toot." The phone was hung up, and cold sweat appeared on Guan Yunbiao's face. "Damn, Kui Li is really here? Why is Han Qian's mobile phone in his hand?" Guan Degu was busy calling to Xiao. "Master, I need support." Kui Li looked at the hung-up phone in his hand, glanced at the phone book, chuckled and threw it into the water. Holding the umbrella in his hand, he walked towards the two people lying on the ground in front of him. Kui Li slowly squatted down and was attacked by Luo Shen. Man groaned in pain. Save me." Kui Li smiled and nodded slightly. The next second he took out his pistol and pointed it at the man's head and pulled the trigger. Then he raised his hand and pointed at the other person and shot. "Killed by 2 shots. Kui Li said indifferently while looking at the man with a dead expression. "I'm not a doctor, I can't save lives." After a pause for a few seconds, Kui Li smiled. "It won't hurt if you die, don't thank me." After saying this, Kui Li stood up and looked at the dark woods. He sighed softly and murmured softly, "If you want to kill me, who is this person? Why doesn't Han Qian's phone save the name? It's very troublesome to find it." While he was talking, his cell phone rang. Kui Li took out the phone with a number that also had no note on it, pressed the connect button, and whispered, "There are other people chasing him. Wu Qingxi is hiding in Yezai Pavilion and cannot come out. I got Han Qian's cell phone just now, but I threw it away." There was silence on the other side of the phone for a full minute. Kui Li stood there and waited for a minute. When the voice came out again, it had turned into a roar. "Are you a pig? Are you a fool? You won't use Han Qian's mobile phone to send text messages to Wu Qingxi to trick him out. He doesn't have a number saved in his mobile phone. They are all mobile phone numbers. I don't know which number belongs to Miss Wu. If I go after Han Qian now, I should be able to catch up." Go after it. It would be best if you can kill Wu Qingxi. If this woman dies, the Binhai city government office will be investigated by the higher authorities, and Niu Qiudong will not be able to escape. I understand. Also, someone who calls Han Qian brother Han said that Go De Peo is also here. That's Guan Yun Biao, the watchdog of Tu Xiao in the 8th district. Don't pay attention to him. As for Guda Pao, you can deal with this kind of bastard. Damn it, Han Qian's grandson has moved the people away. I'm leaving the city first. Oh. After hanging up the phone, Kui Li threw his cell phone into the water, and then walked into the woods with a calm pace, as if he was not chasing anyone. At this moment, Tu Xiao found Cheng Jin and forcibly pulled Cheng Jin, who was speaking on the stage, into a corner. Cheng Jin frowned and said angrily, "What are you doing?" Tu Xiao looked gloomy and growled, "Don't shout at me yet. Bio Z called Han Qian just now and the call went through. Where is the person?" "I don't know, but what, please give me some pleasure." The phone is in Kui Li's hand, and Kui Li took it. The news was like a bolt from the blue, and the sky outside seemed to match the tense atmosphere. An extremely loud thunder exploded over Yezai Pavilion, and Cheng Jin instantly felt cold all over his body. Han Qian's mobile phone is in Kui Li's hand. This means. He didn't dare to think about it anymore, and quickly took out his mobile phone and dialed Li Jinhai's number. Cheng Jin growled in a shaky voice during the call. "Let your people find him. No matter life or death, you must find Han Qian for me. If Kui Li resists, let your people take action directly. If anything happens, I, Cheng Jin, will protect you with my head." The phone was connected while speaking, and Cheng Jin whispered into the phone, "Locate the location of Han Qian's phone and rush there with your people. Han Qian may have been caught by Kui Li." After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 629. When Nuan stood in front of the office window, watching dozens of people with machetes in their hands rush to the road outside Yezai Pavilion in the heavy rain, Wen said coldly, "Yan Hu, is this what you told me happened?" Yan Qingqing sat on the sofa with her legs crossed and said calmly, "I said it's okay if it's okay. Even if we can go out now, King Hu and King Si will go first. You and Tanjeo, idiots who can fall down while walking, just wait here for the rain to stop." Nuan turned around and said coldly, "If something happens to Han Qian, won't you regret it?" Yan Qingqing shook her head. "I don't regret it. I know what I should do at this moment. You guys should stay still. The sky hasn't fallen yet. Cai King Hu, don't rely on you to do whatever you want just because you have a gun. I have received some news that King Si's drama may be offended Feng Lun." In a luxurious villa in the city, Ji Jing sat obediently on the sofa. Suliang thought of ways to divert the aunt's attention, but Ji Jing just laughed and said nothing. Qian Ling stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, watching the lightning and thunder in the night sky, when the old ghost housekeeper suddenly appeared. "Madam, the people at the Yamen gate are gathering in the direction of Yezai Pavilion. It seems that something happened there. I'm worried that the young master is near Yezai Pavilion. I asked the boss and the second child to go to Yezai Pavilion to protect some ladies. Villa, there is an old slave here." Qian Ling closed her eyes and took a deep breath. "I know how powerful you are, but Xiao Qian is out there. These people who have been beaten by 1,000 cuts should have been killed long ago. You call and ask the students who work you to me in the past to find out who wants me all the time. My godson's life is fine. There's nothing wrong at home. The third and fourth sons are here. You can go see Lushenga." A gleam flashed in the old housekeeper's eyes, and he bowed to excuse himself. Soon after, Qian Wan's supercar roared away from the villa, and two strong bodyguards, one black and one white, appeared in the living room. Their hands were always hidden inside their suit jackets. Qianling never said that she was a good person, and she never denied that she was a bad person. Some things are out of reach for ordinary people, but for people like them, not difficult. The old housekeeper looked at the shotgun on the passenger seat. When the young master died, his wife was furious, but she was not like today. She already knew what Lushenga had done, but still chose to tolerate it, but today is different. Just in doubt, then visit. Because Qianling didn't want to experience the pain of losing a child anymore. She had endured this pain twice. Qianling turned around and said calmly to Ji Zheng. You are very good. I am very satisfied with your performance. Han Qian calls me aunt, and I can call him son. Ding Yan's choice of daughter-in-law is her choice, and my choice is my choice. I didn't like you before, you are too weak and can't give Qianer any help. I thought about giving you a house to let you leave Qianer, but you refused. The calmness you showed today satisfied me. I can't get the certificate with Qianer. It's okay to be a little kid. Good. Ji Jing raised her head and looked at Qianling and smiled. Thank you mom for making it happen. Qianling waved her hand, looked at Suliang and said again. I have been investigating you for a long time. I know many things that you think are secrets. If you left Changxiang and went to Shuncheng, I would not let you have a place in the city. If you can take risks today, I won't let you go in vain. If you are willing, you can become the third vice president of Honor Group tomorrow. Suliang stood up and bowed to salute. Thank you, Mr. Qian, for your cultivation, but I don't want to trade my relationship with Han Qian for my future. It's better to be pure. Qianling smiled and pursed her lips at Li Li. You're not moved. Li Li replied softly. When you marry a chicken, follow the chicken. When you marry a dog, follow the dog. Liang Er told me that I have the final say at home and listen to him outside. Qianling didn't speak again and continued to look out the window. The rain is getting heavier. In the woods, Luo Shen lay on a rock and gasped for air. He and Han Qian walked a long way and couldn't find a place to climb up. Moreover, they had to be prepared for sneak attacks from Gokhannon from time to time, and their bodies and spirits were on the verge of collapse. Luo Shen gasped. Han Qian, please leave me alone. I hurt you today, and I deserve what I deserve. You go up and ask for help first. If I am still alive when you come down, my life will be yours. If I die, remember to go burn incense for me at my grave. Han Qian didn't speak. His spine felt chilly. He felt that there were several pairs of eyes staring at him in the dark forest. If Luo Shen was left here, she would die. If she was discovered by Guda Pao, it would be even more terrifying than death. You may regret doing something, but if you don't do it, you will regret it for the rest of your life. Han Qian once said this to many people. He walked forward, holding Luo Shen's shoulder with his left hand, hugging her leg with his right hand, and said calmly. Hold my neck, I'm not sure when I'm going to throw you down. Luo Shen struggled to resist. I don't need you to save me, I don't. Han Qian, you are just a dog in my eyes. I don't need you to pity me. I'm not afraid, wow. Luo Shen cried out. She couldn't say the word death, and she stopped struggling. The rain washed away Han Qian's body, and the water flowing down turned red. He held Luo Shen in the muddy water that had submerged his ankles. Forward. Luo Shen cannot be allowed to die here. At the same time, Han Qian was also working hard to complete his plan. Luo Shen is very important and plays an important role in this drama. Luo Shen looked at Han Qian's face and said nothing. The man who wanted to marry her wanted to kill her, but this man who was once her enemy was trying his best to save her. Is it a taunt? Is it retribution? No matter what, Luo Shen's heart was broken. Han Qian knew that he could climb onto the road after walking around the woods for about 2 kilometers, but in his eyes, These 2 kilometers were compared to the 25,000 miles. Every step was heavy, and every second he wanted to lie here and end his life. It hurts. Very tired. Excessive bleeding caused him to fall down several times, but he never let go of Luo Shen in his arms and struggled to get up. Unable to walk any longer, Han Qian put Luo Shen on a stone. He fell into the mud and gasped for air. Huh, in another half an hour, we will. Before he finished speaking, Han Qian took out the swing stick from his waist. His eyes were instantly scarlet and his spirit was tense. Luo Shen grabbed a stone and hugged it to his chest. Somebody is coming. It was an acquaintance who wanted 2 people's lives. Ha, adulterer, why don't you leave? Keep walking, you have no strength anymore? I have followed you all the way, waiting for now, Han Qian, I will not kill you, I will torture Luo Shen in front of you the slut, let her ask you for help, but you can't do anything, just like I tortured that woman back then. Han Qian looked calm and slowly took out a cigarette from his pocket, which was already soaked. A lighter that has been filled with water cannot be relit. After trying several times, Han Qian threw the lighter to Luo Shen, holding the unlit cigarette in his mouth and squinting at the cannon. Do you know how bad guys die? They die because they talk too much, you bastards. After saying this, he raised his hand to Gu Dapao. Take the initiative to provoke. This guy won't die that easily, and his appearance was expected by Han Qian. Han Qian raised his head, opened his mouth, caught some rainwater and swallowed it, and then said scornfully. A big man holding such a small knife is as brave as you, right? It's like you like Cai King Hu but don't dare to tell others. Han Qian. I'm going to skin you. Come on, bastard. Go Dapao rushed towards Han Qian, and when he was less than 2 meters away from Han Qian, he suddenly stopped and clenched the dagger in his hand. He stopped moving forward. Han Qian stood up slowly and twisted his neck to make a sound. You're not coming? Then I'll come. If I knew you were not dead, would Han Qian just run away like a fool? The purpose of coming to Yashai Pavilion today is to kill you. Han Qian bent down and dived forward, but his speed was already many times slower than an hour ago. He held a stick in both hands and whipped Go Dapao's head. Han Qian didn't know how to fight, but he knew how to kill. He had sparred with Wu Qingxi many times. Han Qian lost, because the opponent was not a surefire enemy. Go Dapao threatened Cai King Hu, kidnapped nursery rhymes, and threatened warmth in his words. Shot him again today. Han Qian will not let him live anymore. But Han Qian forgot one thing. Go Dapao's strength was still there, and the stick was blocked by the dagger in mid-air. The next second, Go Dapao bent down and hit Han Qian's jaw with an uppercut. Han Qian's back falling into the water, blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Go Dapao raised his dagger and stabbed Han Qian. Luo Shen suddenly spoke. Go Dapao, go to hell. A stone flew over, and Go Dapao had no time to kill Han Qian, so he could only dodge. During this moment of respite, Han Qian put his foot on Go Dapao's side, turned around and climbed up to pick up the stick, and was about to touch it. When it was time to swing the stick, Han Qian felt a chill on his back and rolled to dodge. The sharp dagger pierced the air. Han Qian sat on the ground and gasped, but couldn't get the stick. Go Dapao struck again with the dagger. Han Qian grabbed a handful of mud and threw it at Go Dapao's face. When his sight was blocked, Han Qian stood up and grabbed Go Dapao's wrist, and picked up Go Dapao's wrist with his other hand. Pluck your middle finger back hard. Click. The middle finger was broken, the dagger fell to the ground, and Han Qian also received a heavy punch in the face. This punch broke the wound on Han Qian's head that was no longer bleeding. However, now that Go Cannon has no weapon, Han Qian no longer needs to dodge. Again. On the road of fighting for his life, Han Qian has no opponent. Standing up and shaking his eyes covered by blood, Han Qian staggered forward and punched Go De Peo hard in the lower abdomen. When he bent over in pain, Han Qian pinched Go De Peo's head. Under the armpits, lie straight back. Unfortunately, the ground was muddy and did not cause any substantial damage to the Go cannon. At this moment, the guy came back to his senses and punched Han Qian in the stomach one after another. Just when Han Qian was about to let go of his head, Luo Shen walked over with a wooden stick. He raised the wooden stick and was about to smash it down. Unexpectedly, he was kicked by a cannon on his broken leg. Luo Shen screamed in pain, fell to the ground and unable to get up. Just when Han Qian was about to let go, a man walked out of the jungle, holding an umbrella in his left hand and a pistol in his right hand. Han Qian, do you need help? The price is that I will take this woman's life. I hate women. Luo Shen panicked, and she clearly felt Han Qian's panic, but Han Qian growled lowly. Kui Li. Don't force me to kill you, get out. Luo Shen was really panicked. Who is Kui Li? One of the murderers of the Mid-Autumn Festival massacre. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 630. A shotgun was pressed against Lu Shenge's head. The eldest young master of the Lu family raised his hands and smiled bitterly. Uncle Zhong, what are you doing? This matter has nothing to do with me. I also reminded Han Qian to be careful. I know that you are always good at playing with guns. Can we put it away first? The ghost butler said coldly. Where is my young master? Old man, are Aunt Qian really planning to let Han Qian take over Qian Huan's job? As soon as he finished speaking, the butt of a gun hit Lu Shenge in the face, and the old housekeeper said coldly. Are you worthy of mentioning my young master's name? Lu Shenge, please remember that my wife has not allowed me to trouble you for many years, otherwise I would have sent you to see my young master long ago. Lu Shenge covered the side of his face and smiled. Which young master? Qian Huan? The unborn Qianju or the Han Qian who is still alive and dead? Uncle Zhong, Qian Huan's matter has nothing to do with me. Aunt Qian asked someone to kill my wife. I took the blame and I admit it is bad luck. As for Han Qian, I guess this meeting should be near Yezai Pavilion. Whose plan? Lin Zongheng's plan. He initially said that the three of us would kill Luo Shen together and then carve up the Luo family, but tonight Lin Zongheng suddenly changed his plan. He wanted Luo Shen to die in front of Han Qian, so that the Luo family would think it was Han Qian killed Luo Shen, and he appeared in the Luo family as an infatuated seed to help deal with Han Qian. This is all I know. I don't know anything else. You can just be old. If there is a quarrel, you can't leave today. Come here, Uncle Zhong, don't forget, the cannon hook injured my brother. The old man was hesitating, but Lu Shenge had already stood up and walked to the computer and said calmly. My game has an event tonight. It would be better for you to go to Yezai Pavilion early to check it out. After all, Feng Lun and Kui Li are both in the city. On the road outside Yezai Pavilion, two Xiao's people were looking step by step with bright flashlights. They didn't dare to drive. The rain was too heavy and they couldn't see anything clearly in the car. Guan Yunbiao was shirtless and carrying a handful in his left hand. A short knife, holding a walkie-talkie in his right hand and roaring. Look carefully for me. Just don't think about it. If my uncle is gone, our protective umbrella in District 8 is gone. Yes. Brother dog, it's raining too much, why don't we go down and look for it? Brother dog, I'll go down first. You guys are on top. We can contact you at any time. Thunder and lightning flashed across the sky, and Guan Yunbiao vaguely heard some sound, but he was not sure or dared to say anything. He was worried in his heart and rushed away in the direction of the sound, which was like an auditory hallucination. 10 miles away, looking for someone here is no different from finding a needle in a haystack. The most important thing is that the debris of the car crash on the road has been washed away by the rain. Guan Yunbiao is not only anxious now, he is also a little scared. He is not afraid of Hook Cannon, he is afraid it's Kui Li. At this time, Kui Li dragged Luo Shen to sit on the stone and made a silent movement towards Luo Shen. "Shh. Don't talk, or I will kill you." Han Qian bent over and took a deep breath, his eyes fixed on Go Depeo, who was also dressed in rough clothes. Kui Li looked at the two fighting men seriously. He was really not in a hurry. Kui Li was not afraid of anything, he was just afraid. Feng Lun. Lightning flashed across the sky, and Han Qian took advantage of this bright moment to rush towards Gouda Cannon. At this time, he had no skills at all. He only thought about killing the opponent with one punch, exchanging fists, and the collision of heads. Go Depeo's physical strength and health were several times greater than Han Qian's. Go Depeo seized the opportunity and punched Han Qian's lower abdomen continuously. Han Qian stepped back step by step and spit out a mouthful of blood. If a normal person was attacked like this, he would vomit. It was saliva, but now Han Qian's mouth was full of blood. Han Qian. Go Depeo knew that he would definitely not be able to leave here alive today, and he no longer had any scruples. It would not be a loss to kill Han Qian. If he could kill Luo Shen to gain blood, he rushed forward and punched Han Qian on the right side of his face. Han Qian staggered. He almost fell down, and when he raised his head again, he grinned. Zap, come again. This time Go Depeo's fist was blocked by Han Qian's arm, and he punched Go Depeo in the face. Go Depeo raised his leg to fight back. The two of them stepped back at the same time, then stepped forward at the same time, and their fists hit each other's face again. Now whoever is knocked down first will be the loser. Gradually, Go Depeo's physical strength was no longer strong, but Han Qian became more and more frustrated. He staggered forward. Seeing this, Go Depeo rushed forward. Han Qian threw mud on his face again. The next second he grabbed Go Depeo's hair and gave him a headbutt. Then he turned around and grabbed Go Depeo's hair and started running. Boom! With a muffled sound, Go Depeo's head hit the tree, but this guy covered his head with his hands when the impact hit him. He struggled to get up, held down the back of Han Qian's head and hit the tree. Luo Shen on the side couldn't stand it anymore. To pick up a stone and be ready to help. The dark bullet hole was on his forehead. Kui Li smiled again. Give you a chance. Be obedient. As soon as he finished speaking, he hit Luo Shen with a gun butt in the side of his face. He didn't understand what it meant to pity the fragrance and cherish the jade. Han Qian was so confused that his vision was blurry. There was nothing but bright red. Han Qian was about to lose, he was about to give up, but just when he was about to give up, something appeared in his mind. A warm figure. Brother Qian. Aha! With a roar, Go Depeo found that he could not press Han Qian's head. He was stunned for a moment. Han Qian stretched out his hand to grab Go Depeo's ear and gave him a headbutt on the nose. The bright red flowers were blowing on Go Depeo's face. There were flowers blooming on the tree, but Han Qian didn't care and kept hitting his head again and again. Han Qian roared crazily. Compared with a warm head, you are like tofu. Go Depeo was stunned. His nose was broken and his teeth were knocked out. He stumbled and lay in the water. Han Qian's arms hung down weakly and his legs were slightly bent. He glanced at Go Depeo, then suddenly turned his head and slowly raised his arm and hooked his index finger at Kui Li. You come. Kui Li stood up, threw away the umbrella in his hand, took off his smart tunic suit, and made crisp sounds when he shook his neck. Han Qian, are you sure you want to take action? You will die. Han Qian spat out a mouthful of blood and said indifferently. I will die and leave her alive. Being infatuated again? Feng Lun said, Han Qian, you are just a fool and a bad person. There is no need for you to live such a tiring life. Come with me and we can live happily. Kui Li folded the Chinese tunic suit and handed it to Luo Shen, and said again. If it gets stained with muddy water, just wash it off with blood. As soon as he finished speaking, Kui Li picked up his pistol and pointed it at Han Qian. The pistol with the silencer made Han Qian's whole body feel cold. Puff. There were 2 gunshots, and Han Qian could feel the bullet passing by his ear, leaving a trail of blood. Then there was a sound of mud and water falling from behind. Han Qian did not turn around, he already knew the result. Kui Li shrugged, ejected the magazine, and disassembled the pistol. This guy knows a lot about firearms. The parts were scattered at his feet, Kui Li said calmly. I don't like to attack other people's backs, and I don't like to watch others sneak attacks. Feng Lun was an accident. According to his seniority, I have to call him uncle. Han Qian, you know that. I must be fair. If you die, I will let this a woman goes to the underworld to accompany you. As soon as he finished speaking, Kui Li was already close. After a combination of punches, Han Qian fell to the ground. He didn't even see Kui Li's fists. He only felt that every part of his body was hurting, and the pain was severe. Kui Li smiled, stepped forward and grabbed Han Qian's arm, gently lifted him up and stood against the tree, and then his fists fell like raindrops. Eyes, nose, side face, stab wounds on shoulders, chest, lower abdomen. Han Qian had no room to fight back. Every time his fist fell, blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth, but Han Qian said nothing and had no intention of begging for mercy. He kept looking at Kui Li without dodge. Han Qian didn't know how many punches he received. Kui Li stopped moving his mouth and smiled slightly. Oops, I seem to be addicted. Han Qian, you must not die. Hold on for a little longer, hold on for a little longer. This sentence was like the wail of a hungry ghost in hell. Luo Shen couldn't bear it anymore, threw away the tunic jacket in his hand, and shouted hysterically. Kill me! Kill me first! Kui Li, you are a coward, you are a eunuch, how can you bully a seriously injured person? If you are a man, kill me first. She was stalling for time, hoping to keep Han Qian alive even for just a second. From the moment Han Qian picked her up, Luo Shen's broken heart began to regroup. She knew that if Han Qian hadn't come to save her tonight, she would never be like this. Her roar might have made Kui Li a little irritable, and she turned around. She glanced at Luo Shen and said coldly. I remember I said, if the clothes are dirty, wash them with your blood. While speaking, Kui Li turned around and walked towards Luo Shen. As soon as he took a step, he was lightly punched on the back, like a caress, like an unintentional touch. Kui Li turned around and looked at the man with blood on his face. Han Qian grinned. If you do something to a woman, then you are not a man. Kui Li also smiled. Han Qian, I really like you. If you survive, I will give you 2 gifts. They are in the bathroom on the first floor of your house. After he finished speaking, Kui Li put his fist back parallel to his shoulder and said again. It's a pity you won't survive. Han Qian smiled again, opening his mouth in a silly grin. Kui Li, the villain. Do you know how he died? He died, of talking, too much. After saying this, Kui Li frowned, ignoring the hysterical roar of Luo Shen behind him, and tilted his head. Are you talking about yourself? Han Qian smiled and slowly closed his eyes. He had no strength left and just wanted to sleep for a while, have a good sleep. Han Qian could no longer stand and slowly slipped and fell to the ground. Kui Li frowned and bent down to help Han Qian stand up. Just as his hands were about to touch Han Qian, Kui Li suddenly retracted his hand, took 2 steps back, and a cold light flashed across. One person was shirtless and holding a short wooden-handled knife in his hand, which was similar to a short sword and suitable for carrying behind the waist. Kui Li stepped back repeatedly, bent down, and picked up the swing stick used by Han Jian, and said doubtfully, "Is that you on the phone? Are you Kui Li? Do you have a name? I shut down the big dog, a dog that eats people. It's gone, gone, not a drop is gone. Where are the tickets? Where are the comments? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 631. Lin Zongheng was sitting alone in Changxiang Group's office. He was a little excited. Calculating the time, Luo Shen should be dead. It would be best if Go Depeo could kill Han Qian. Of course, he could not die. His life and death will not hinder Lin Zongheng's plan, but Luo Shen must die. Thinking of playing the role of an infatuated seed in the future, Lin Zongheng felt a little uncomfortable. He took out his mobile phone and thought about asking that woman to come over and feel comfortable. But after thinking about it, he put down his mobile phone. Feng Lun and Kui Li suddenly appeared. Could they be? Han Qian called him back. What is the relationship between Han Qian and Kui Li? Lin Zongheng said that he was not afraid of Li Jinhan, Li Jinhai, or Qian Ling. Han Qian guessed that he was afraid of Cheng Jin, but Han Qian was wrong. Lin Zongheng's family was on good terms with Niu Qiudong, so how could they be afraid of Cheng Jin? What he was afraid of was Feng Lun, who rode him like a dog. No one can guess the relationship between Feng Lun and Han Qian. After investigating Han Qian's information, he had a 3-year gap. It can be said that no one except Wen Nuan knows what Han Qian has done in the past 3 years, and it happens that Feng Lun also he disappeared for a while, which happened at the same time as Han Qian's 3 years. Lin Zongheng suspected that Han Qian and Feng Lun had known each other for a long time. As for the evidence that Han Qian did not know Feng Lun now, it can be ignored. With their heads, if they want to work together to calculate something, the entire Binhai city is their chessboard and chess pieces. For a moment, Lin Zongheng hoped that Han Qian would die. Living with such a person was simply a kind of oppression for him. Nowadays, many people secretly rank young people in the city, including those at the Yamanmen. The top pick was Han Qian, everyone recognized him as number 1, but the second pick was not him, Lin Zongheng, but the eunuch of the Lin family. Even the top pick was taken away by Feng Lun, and he was just a Chuanlu that no one knew about. Even if Feng Lun is not in Binhai city now, he is still just a top pick. Lin Zongheng was unwilling to give in. He didn't lack money, he was handsome, he didn't lack women, he didn't lack status. What he lacked was recognition from outsiders and spiritual satisfaction. He was weighed down by a mud-legged guy from the countryside. As a returnee from overseas, Lin Zongheng was unwilling to give in. He is a highly educated, top student from a well-known university, a wealthy young man, and the president of Changxiang Group. And what about Han Qian? He's just a mud-legged guy who didn't graduate from college, has a criminal record, and comes out of the countryside wearing patches. He has nothing. Why? Why should he? I, Lin Zongheng, am stupider than him, Han Qian? His thoughts were interrupted by the ringing of his cell phone, and Lin Zongheng answered the call. Eunuch, do you have something to say in the middle of the night? I'm playing in a group. Let me tell you something in my busy schedule. The old lunatic from Qian Ling's family just came to me with a gun. You'd better stay away. Han Qian is dead. You have something to do. Han Qian is alive. There's something else. You told him it was my plan. A double-barreled shotgun is put to your foreheads, don't you say anything? You don't think Qian Ling is a widow whose husband and children died, do you? Her husband used to be a professor with many talents all over the world. I will give you to you if you die. You buy a pot, buy a pot. An image of a tortoise lying in a pot appeared in Lin Zongheng's mind, and he got up and left. Feel a little scared. In the woods, Guan Yunbiao held a short knife in his hand and stared at Kui Li, who looked at Guan Yunbiao calmly. After talking to Kui Li, Guan Yunbiao was scared. No one is not afraid of this kind of madman, but at this moment, Guan Yunbiao is not afraid of the madman in front of him at all. He knows that fear is useless. If he is scared, he will run away. The brother sitting behind him under the tree must die. Guan Yunbiao remembered everything Han Qian did for him, and the scene when he threw out a card that night. The money was not important, the important thing was the attitude. He didn't speak, but Han Qian knew he wanted to help. Ashamed to speak. Regardless of the reason. These 8 words are enough. Brother Han, Brother Guan are not names you call casually. Wolong and Phoenix were both disgraced together, so now Guan Yunbiao can't run away. Does life matter? Important. Can you finally have the nerve to kneel down in front of the grave and call Brother Han? Shameless. When Kui Li bent down to assemble the pistol, Luo Shen spoke. He wants to form a gun. Kui Li turned around and hit Kui Luo in the stomach with a stick. At this time, Guan Yunbiao realized that there was another person here, but he didn't care too much. He stepped forward with the knife, holding the handle of the knife with both hands and slashed down. Sparks flashed in the heavy rain, and the harsh sound of steel friction sounded for the heavy rain. Guan Yunbiao was more agile than Han Qian, and he played a dagger like a silver flower on a rainy night. The sharp dagger had a tricky angle and was as fast as lightning in the sky. In just a few breaths, the dagger and the stick had collided countless times. Luo Shen didn't know how the two men saw each other's weapons in this dark night. It's experience. It has been 16 years since Guan Yunbiao followed Tu Xiao in fighting and killing at the age of 16. He has also been playing swordsmanship for 16 years. No success is accidental, only sweat and hard work. Guan Yunbiao's attack forced Kui Li to take it seriously. Stand up. The short knife turned into a sword and stabbed Kui Li's throat. When the distance was less than 3 inches, the stick had already appeared under Guan Yunbiao's armpit. Boom! There was a muffled sound and the stick hit his armpit. Guan Yunbiao felt a burst of muscle soreness. The dagger fell and cut through Kui Li's vest, leaving a blood stain on his right chest. Guan Yunbiao hurriedly took 2 steps back, holding the dagger in his left hand. Move your right arm to relieve pain. Kui Li looked down at the blood on his chest. When he raised his head again, lightning flashed across him again. Guan Yunbiao saw a smile on this lunatic's face. It was not a smile, but a crazy smile. Sudden. Kui Li screamed strangely, and rushed towards Guan Dagu with the stick in both hands. The stick swept across Guan Yunbiao's right rib. Guan Yunbiao held the knife in his left hand to resist the attack, but just like that, Kui Li's right arm was pressed down by his left back. His fist hit Guan Yunbiao's face with the sound of steel colliding. Guan Yunbiao was also a man. He advanced instead of retreating. The sharp edge of his left hand slid along the body of the swinging stick towards the hand holding the swinging stick. Seeing this, Kui Li did not dare to move forward. He retreated with practice. Guan Yunbiao pressed hard and refused to let go. When Kui Li felt that he was about to enter Luo Shen's sneak attack range, he stopped, put his right hand on the swing stick, turned around and stepped away from Go De Peo, and caught the other end of the swing stick that was about to fall to the ground with his left hand. He swung the stick and hit Guan Dagu on the back of the neck. Without looking behind him, Guan Yunbiao raised the dagger in his left hand and moved it down his right shoulder. Ding! There was another crisp sound, the tiger's mouth tore open, the back of the knife pressed against the back, cutting the skin, but Guan Yunbiao still did not retreat, raised his leg and put it on Kui Li's knee that was about to lift, then raised his leg again, and whipped his leg with a whip. Kui Li's side waist was so strong that Kui Li took a step across to steady himself. Guan Yunbiao frowned, turned to look at Han Qian sitting under the tree, and said doubtfully, "That's it? That's it, brother Han? I thought he was so powerful, but that's it? I can beat 3 of them by myself." Han Qian clutched his chest and continued intermittently, Don't be careless." After the words fell, Kui Li spoke. "In total, I was underestimated. Your original name was Guan Yunbiao, right? Grandpa is here. Don't call Grandpa by his name if you don't have the purple gold gourd and jade purification bottle." "Ah." Kui Li smiled and raised his fingers at Guan Yunbiao, but Guan Yunbiao ignored him at all. Kui Li knew that he didn't have much time. If Guan Yunbiao could find this place, so could others. Kui Li pulled open his vest. This time the attack was obviously stronger than it was much faster before, and the stick fell like raindrops. Guan Yunbiao waved his short knife to resist and retreated. After dozens of times, Guan Yunbiao clutched his ribs and gritted his teeth. "Damn, it seems I've been underestimated. Kui Li is the most trustworthy and capable person around Fenglun, while Guan Yunbiao is the capable general beside Tu Xiao." When Tu Xiao was able to walk into the Mid-Autumn Festival Gala alone to meet Kui Li, it showed that he was not afraid of him. How could Guan Yunbiao let Kui Li get an advantage tonight? Guan Yunbiao's short sword returned to his right hand and he smiled. "Xiao Kui, are you talking about something?" As soon as these words came out, Kui Li was slightly stunned, but Guan Yunbiao had already started to counterattack. When the sharp blade passed by, when the spark exploded, Kui Li did not retreat and kept dodging. Both times he punched, he was forced back by the short knife in Guan Yunbiao's hand. When the same dozens of swords were stopped again, the bright red of the blade flowed down the tip. Guan Yunbiao chuckled. "Have you seen the days?" Kui Li didn't know what Guan Yunbiao was talking about. Guan Yunbiao also approached Kui Li again while he was talking. This time Kui Li smiled again, raised his right leg and then dropped it heavily. The muddy water stirred up blocked Guan Yunbiao's sight. Guan Yunbiao couldn't help but when I closed my eyes to prevent mud and water from entering my eyes, the stick had already fallen. For it. Luo Shen's scream made Guan Yunbiao dodge quickly, but the stick still landed on his shoulder. He held the short knife in his backhand and drew an arc in front of him, slicing Kui Li's forearm. Kui Li's left fist was thrown out. Guan Yunbiao smiled and raised his hand to block it. Just when the fists were about to face each other, Guan Yunbiao suddenly opened his palm. Kui Li punched the hilt of the knife. Guan Yunbiao took a step back and distanced himself. When the short knife fell, he stepped forward again, bent down, and held the handle of the knife, leaving a wound on Kui Li's right leg. In the fight, Kui Li didn't get any advantage. In fact, if Han Qian had not been injured after falling off the cliff, had he not been hit on the back by a hook cannon, and had not been slashed by those 2 men, Han Qian would have been confident that he could defeat Kui Li. Han Qian and Guan Yunbiao did not get any advantage in that duel, and Guan Yunbiao had been there all along, shouting for a fight with Han Qian. He can't fight? The famous Guanda dog in the city cannot be beaten? That's a joke. Guan Yunbiao wiped the short knife with his pants and said calmly. I've received 11 blows from you and left 7 stab wounds on your body. Why do you still need to continue? If you think about it, there will be many opportunities in the future. My people are coming soon. Kui Li tilted his head and said doubtfully. You let me go. Guan Yunbiao lowered his sword and walked towards Han Qian, saying calmly. There is a lunatic behind you. The people at the Yamanmen dare to arrest you, but I don't dare. Go De Peo's body is here. My brother Han is still alive. I know you have something to hide. I will repay what my brother owes you. Get out. I'm practicing. Kui Li took a deep breath. This time he stopped smiling and said calmly. No weapons, just fists and kicks. The voice pointed at Luo Shen. She's timing it, I'll leave in 60 seconds, otherwise I'll kill Han Jian and you won't be able to save it. Guan Yunbiao turned his head and said coldly. You're going to die. Kui Li stopped talking and punched Guan Yunbiao with his fist. Snapped. Guan Yunbiao slapped Kui Li's fist away and frowned. If you don't get beaten, you won't have a long memory. Why are you like Xiao Kui? After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 632. Kui Li can't just leave like this, causing such a big disturbance in the city. He's not just trying to deal with Han Jian. Since the big dog won't be beaten, I, Kui Li, will take the initiative to fight you. Kui Li's fist struck again, and Guan Degu raised his short knife and pointed it at Kui Li. You really want to fight? Kui Li nodded. Guan Yunbiao stuck the short knife in his hand into the soil and whistled at Luo Shen. Time. As soon as he finished speaking, Guan Degu stepped forward and punched Kui Li hard on the right side of his face. Kui Li was almost knocked down by the punch. Guan Degu raised his leg and kicked him, glaring angrily. I gave this to you for brother Han. Who do you think you are when you bully a seriously injured person? Kui Li turned around and punched him. The two of them stood motionless in the mud with their legs. Guan Yunbiao's fist was very hard, and this guy was also very resistant to beatings. Even Kui Li, who had lived in the army, was vaguely unable to bear it. He underestimated the enemy. Kui Li was very good with guns, very powerful, but in terms of fists, Guan Degu had been beaten by tens of thousands of fists since he was 16 years old until today. At the same time, he had been beaten by tens of thousands of fists. But that doesn't mean he doesn't feel pain. The two left hands hugged each other's necks, and their right fists fell down again and again. Guan Degu was already a little confused. As for Kui Li's face, he was not satisfied with the blood. Guan Degu roared. How long the hell does it take? Luo Shen opened his mouth and told Guan Degu that there were still 30 seconds. A minute passed in the blink of an eye in the past, but at this moment, the days were like years. Kui Li punched Guan Yunbiao on the chest. Guan Yunbiao took 2 steps back. The next second Kui Lixiu looking at Han Jian, he bent down to grab the mud and smear it on Guan Yunbiao's face. His line of sight was blocked. Guan Yunbiao kept retreating, when Luo Shen screamed and shouted. Ja! When the sound came out, Guan Yunbiao was obviously stunned for a second, and he received a heavy punch on the chin. Guan Yunbiao fell into the muddy water. Kui Li thought he had won, but within 2 seconds, Guan Yunbiao suddenly stood up and wiped the stain off his face. Niba turned to face Luo Shen and cursed angrily. Speak to me in F***ing plain language. Chin is chin, what the hell is chin? I can't even recognize the words. Luo Shen whispered to the two of them that there were still 20 seconds left. Guan Yunbiao stood up, holding his chin with one hand, holding his head with the other, and shook it from side to side twice. Then he stepped forward and kicked Kui Li's lower abdomen. He grabbed a handful of mud and smeared it on Kui Li's face, and Guan Yunbiao started working. You hit Han Jian with this punch, and you hit me with this punch. Are you the only one who knows how to play dirty tricks? You were still in your mother's womb when I played dirty tricks. Kui Li stepped back repeatedly, and at this moment Luo Shen told the two that time was up. Guan Yunbiao wiped the blood that first flowed, turned around and walked towards Han Jian, turning his back to Kui Li and said indifferently. I won't kill you, and I won't keep you. It's not that I'm a big dog because I'm afraid of you, Kui Li. I don't want to bring Feng Lun into trouble for my boss. If I catch you, Feng Lun might attack my eldest daughter. Get out. Next time I meet you, I will beat you to death with my own hands to save you from jail. At the same time, sirens and the voices of boys from District 8 calling for Han Qian and Guan Yunbiao came from the road. Is it over? No. Kui Li was unwilling to leave just like that. He came with a bang and left in disgrace. He made a move to prepare to escape, but his target was the dagger in the muddy water. Kui Li picked up the dagger and pointed it at Guan Yunbiao's back. Guan Yunbiao suddenly turned around and looked at the incoming dagger. His body's instinct let him get out of the way. The dagger grazed his arm without stopping. Guan Yunbiao was angry. Kui Li, I'm a fool. The dagger went towards Han Qian's heart. Han Qian opened his eyes and watched the dagger coming, but he couldn't move. Guan Yunbiao had already picked up the dagger and struck Kui Li. At the critical moment, a darkness suddenly flashed before Han Qian's eyes. Poof! The sound of the sharp blade piercing flesh and blood was clearly audible, but Han Qian did not feel any pain, and his delicate body fell into his arms. At the same time, Guan Yunbiao's short knife also slashed along Kui Li's shoulder, creating a wound from the shoulder to the hip bone. People kept rushing down the landslide on the road, and some were shouting. Under the strong light of the flashlight, Han Qian saw that there was no breathing in his arms. Han Qian was afraid, and stretched out his hand to hold Luo Shen's right chest, and closed the big dog. Roaring behind him. Doctor, come here, humming doctor, you guys, throw the doctor away from me. This place is 20 meters high from the road. The doctors on the road are scared, but facing these boys from District 8 who have red eyes, they have no other choice. Kui Li ran away. Han Qian, Luo Shen, Go De Peo, none of them dared to leave Kui Li here. Why did Feng Lun and Kui Li appear in the city together? It was telling Han Qian that if Kui Li was caught, he would start his revenge. The helicopter was hovering in the sky and could not land. Luo Shen was placed on a stretcher. All the rescue equipment was used to rescue Luo Shen. The only person beside Han Qian was Guan Degu, who was dressing his wounds. Guan Degu said in a low voice, I let him go, don't blame me. Han Qian grabbed Guan Degu's hand and was about to speak when Guan Yunbiao said hurriedly, no. Don't beg me. You can only go to the hospital now. I will take care of other things for you. Did you tell me that Kui Li has been here? Han Qian closed his eyes and shook his head. He didn't come. Guan Yunbiao didn't understand, but he didn't ask. Maybe Han Qian would explain to him, but he couldn't understand and didn't want Han Qian to talk anymore. Luo Shen was sent to the hospital by helicopter, and Han Qian was also tied up. The stretcher was put on the road with the concerted efforts of everyone. Cheng Jin and Han Qian passed by each other. The heavy rain had left the old man's lips without any color. Sudden. Han Qian reached out and grabbed Cheng Jin's hand, but no sound came out when he opened his mouth. Cheng Jin hurriedly bent down and put his ear close to Han Qian's lips. My home. Cheng Jin gritted his teeth and growled. I understand, don't worry. Is it over? No. Feng Lun sat on a stone by the seaside in the back mountain and looked at Kui Li, who stumbled towards him. Feng Lun curled his lips, lit a cigarette and threw it to Kui Li, curling his lips. I told you that you can't beat Han Qian, but you still don't believe me. Why don't you just go and kill Wu Qingxi? My eldest nephew, I feel sorry for you just looking at you. Does it hurt? Kui Li waved the cigarette away and snorted coldly. It doesn't hurt. I can kill Han Qian. Guan Yunbiao suddenly appeared. I don't have any weapons at my disposal. Feng Lun shrugged, took out his mobile phone and dialed a number. It took a long time for the call to be connected, Feng Lun said with a smile. Remember me? The phone was put on speakerphone, Su Hongchang said calmly. Boss Feng. You still know that I am the boss? I will give you a task to trick Wu Qingxi out. This was Feng Lun's plan, but Kui Li insisted on going to Han Qian, so he complied with his nephew's wishes. Su Hongchang fell silent on the phone, raised his head and looked at the rain falling from the sky, and took a deep breath. The tone was indifferent. My boss has told me not to let these girls leave Yezai Pavilion. Feng Lun frowned and said coldly. Su Hongchang, don't forget who asked you to return to Binhai City and who deleted your files. It's you. I always remember your great kindness, but you gave me to Mr. Han. Han Qian is my boss. One servant is disloyal to two masters. I hope Boss Feng can understand. I still have something to do. Hang up first. Feng Lun looked at the phone in his hand, and then looked at Kui Li with wide eyes. Kui Li curled his lips when he saw this. You are great and your plan is feasible. Now Su Hongchang won't listen to you. Okay, my uncle, it's not shameful for you to lose to Han Qian. Can you leave? If you don't leave, it will be too late. Feng Lun stood up and sighed, then threw Kui Li a diving suit and a small oxygen bottle. The two put on their clothes and dived into the sea. They come and they go. Because there are many people helping Feng Lun manage it. Han Qian was sent to the city hospital. In the surgical operating room, Han Qian was already a VIP customer. He came every 3 to 5 months, and each time was worse than the last. Guan Yunbiao pushed the bed with blood on his face and looked at the hospital. Among the onlookers inside, Guan Yunbiao cursed angrily. Did you draft it? Look at your mother. Where are the people? Come here, right here. If anyone blocks the way, I'll chop them into pieces. This time Li Jinhai didn't scold Guan Yunbiao. His eyes were red and he even thought of firing a gun to drive him away. Han Qian's hand was halfway into the operating room. He suddenly sat up, pulled out the needle on his hand, and struggled to get out of bed and go home. Guan Yunbiao, one of Wolong Fengqi, immediately understood what Han Qian meant and left. He stepped forward to hold Han Qian's arm and said in a deep voice, I'll go to the operating room to accompany you. As soon as he finished speaking, Li Jingjiao pulled out his gun. I'll go in too, kid. My second uncle is here. After hearing the two people's promises, Han Qian became quiet. He was afraid, he was really afraid that someone pretending to be a doctor would kill him inside. It was okay to die in a fight, but Han Qian would not accept it even if he died in the operating room. The doctor in the operating room was a little embarrassed. He kept explaining and promised that he could observe everything here in the leadership inspection room. However, Guan Yunbiao didn't care so much. He stripped naked in front of everyone and took the alcohol from the nurse's hand. Open it and put it on your body. Alcohol touched the wound, and Guan Yunbiao's facial features were twisted in pain. He endured the severe pain and walked into the operating room step by step. He had to be by his side. It's no use even if the gods come. You guys go to the entrance of Luoshan's operating room and wait. Not a single nurse or doctor can leave until Luoshan wakes up. Guan Yunbiao gave the order, and the boys hurried to another operating room. Don't blame Han Qian for being worried, don't blame Guan Yunbiao for being reckless. There are so many people in the city who want Han Qian's life. The powerful and wealthy people all want to kill Han Qian. Who wouldn't be tempted by 5 million or 10 million? In the Lin family villa, Lin Zongheng was listening to music and twisting his body coquettishly. Lying on his bed were two girls who were similar in appearance, figure, warmth, and spirit. Lin Zongheng suddenly took off his bathrobe and was about to celebrate the success of his plan. The ringing of his cell phone interrupted him again. Looking at Lu Shenge's number, Lin Zongheng answered the call with a smile. What's wrong, eunuch? I'm planning to fight one dragon with 2 phoenixes. Are you interested? Lu Shenge stood in front of the window and looked at the city washed by the heavy rain, smiling lightly. Luo Shen is not dead, Han Qian is not dead, Go De Peo is dead. Bang, Lin Zongheng's cell phone fell to the ground, then turned around and rushed out of the room. This is impossible. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 633. No. The heavy rain was still falling, so Lin Zongheng called Linmend and then hurriedly drove to the hospital. Qian Ling hung up the phone in her hand. She finally let go of her tense nerves, turned around and smiled at Ji Jing. Go and rest, it's over. Ji Jing, who had always been smiling, stood up and whispered. Don't move around at night. Just stay here. Liang don't leave either. Let Xiaoli accompany Ji Jing. Go de Peo died. Han Qian is fine. After hearing the news, Ji Jing couldn't help but shed tears. She covered her mouth and turned upstairs. Su Liang stood up and said softly. Director Qian, please rest. I want to go to the hospital. Qian Ling frowned, then nodded. Su Liang picked up his suit and got up and left the Qian's villa, heading to the hospital despite the heavy rain. At the same time, Yan Qingqing and Cai Qinghu received calls at the same time, and the messages were concise and to the point. There is no hook cannon in this world anymore. Han Qian was slightly injured and is now in the hospital, nothing serious. After hearing the news, Nuan got up and was about to go out. Yan Qingqing stepped forward and stopped Nuan. You can't go out. No one here is less worried about Han Qian than you. Just wait until dawn to leave and don't cause unnecessary trouble. When Nuan glared at Yan Qingqing fiercely, and then Tong Yao spoke. Mr. Yan is right, Xiao Nuan, you better not rush out. It's already 1 o'clock, and it's raining so hard outside. We can't explain to Han Qian what accident happened to you. Nuan turned his head and glared at nursery rhyme. At this time, Yates stood up, raised his hands and smiled. You are all Han Qian's confidant, but I am not, so I don't need to explain my affairs to him. I will go downstairs to prepare for my work. Yates opened the door and walked out. Wu Qingxi also wanted to imitate Yates's free and easy style, but Cai Qinghu grabbed her ears and scolded her. Filming, why did you forget what Su Hongchang said when he came here just now? If you are short of money, I will give it to you, I will beat you to death. After finishing his words, Cai Qinghu stood up, stretched, and yawned. You guys just wait until daybreak. I'll go to bed first. Little carrots, you sleep with me. In the hospital, Lin Zongheng came to the door of the operating room, trotted forward and grabbed his father's arm, eagerly asking how Luo Shen was injured. Lin Mend waved his hand and slapped Lin Da Bastard on the face. Xiao Shen has been missing for so long. How many calls have I made to you? Why didn't you answer the phone? Lin Zongheng knelt on the ground and cried bitterly. Dad, I am preparing for my wedding to Luo Shen. I wanted to give her a surprise. It was my negligence and my fault. The slaps fell on the face one after another. The nurse outside the operating room had envy in her eyes. What a good man he was. But the eyes of the 4 men in suits guarding the door of the operating room were extremely cold. They knew about Luo Shen's injury, and their fiancée disappeared for half a night in the heavy rain without paying any attention to her. Why would they need to perform this scene? Lin Mend angrily told Lin Zongheng to stay here and wait. If something happened to Luo Shen, he wouldn't have to go back. After Lao Lin left, Lin Zongheng took out his mobile phone and called the dean. Not long after, the dean rushed over with the doctor. The dean trotted forward and held Lin Zongheng's hand, saying enthusiastically, Master Lin. Lin Zongheng wiped his tears and whispered, Uncle Zhang, you must save Luo Shen. She is the woman I love most. I really don't know how I would live without her. Please tell her what's going on now. In Lin Zongheng's heart, he hoped that Luo Shen would die inside, and that the dean would understand his thoughts and not rescue this bitch. He didn't understand why Luo Shen was still alive, but died in hook cannon. Didn't Wei Tiancheng also send people there? Ding Zhang let go of Lin Zongheng's hand and strode towards the operating room. When he was still 2 meters away from the door of the operating room, 2 strong men in black stretched out their hands to stop Ding Zhang. Ding Zhang turned around and looked Xiang Lin Zongheng said softly. Master Lin, this. Lin Zongheng lowered his head and choked. Get out of the way and let Ding Zhang go in to check on my fiancé. After saying this, when Ding Zhang was about to move forward again, one of the men pulled out a short knife from his waist and said coldly. Back off. Without the orders of my master and director Li, none of you can approach the operating room. At this time, the door of the operating room was opened, and a nurse came out and said anxiously. Where are the family members? Come and sign. The patient's condition is not optimistic now. Which of you has type of blood? We are preparing to draw blood. I am worried that it will be too late to transfer the blood. Upon hearing this, Lin Zongheng shouted quickly. I am a family member. I am a family member. I am here to sign. I have type of blood. Please save my wife. I will go in to draw blood right away. He was making his final struggle. His blood was not type A. He had to enter the operating room to give Luo Shen a blood transfusion. As long as Luo Shen was dead, all subsequent troubles would not be considered troubles. The nurse nodded, and Lin Zongheng stood up and walked forward. Limping, he was stalling for time. But at this moment, the 2 men guarding the door looked at each other. The Chinese character on the left reached out and grabbed the pen from the nurse's hand and wrote his name on the critical illness notice. The other man took off his suit and said coldly. I have type of blood, so I don't need a test. If something goes wrong, I'll die. The nurse was already frightened. When she raised her head and looked at Lin Zongheng again, the man who signed the contract grabbed the nurse's collar and came forward and said a few words in her ear. The nurse's eyes widened instantly and she pulled the nurse. The man who was ready to donate blood walked into the operating room. Seeing this scene, Lin Zongheng's eyes turned red, turned around, grabbed the dean's collar and roared. How do you become the dean? I can't sign my wife's notice. You stop the operation immediately, otherwise I will make your life worse than death. Ding Zhang was also confused. At first he thought these bodyguards were Lin Zongheng's people, but then he realized that these 4 men did not seem to take Lin Zongheng seriously, and even said that they did not trust Lin Zongheng. Stop the operation? The young lady of the Luo family would definitely die. He couldn't afford to offend the Lin family. Ding Zhang closed his eyes and took a deep breath, preparing to follow what Lin Zongheng said. After all, he was the only person Luo Shen could count as a relative in Binhai City. But then he looked at the 3 men who had already drawn their knives, and he hesitated. Lin Zongheng's anxious heart was already in a state of confusion. He jumped on his feet and pointed at the 3 men and cursed angrily. Don't think that I dare not touch Tu Xiao's people. Let me tell you, if something happens to Luo Shen, I will not let you go, nor will I let your family go. The 3 men looked at Lin Zongheng with cold eyes without saying a word or giving in. Not long after, the man who donated blood came out with a pale face and covered his arms. He nodded to the 3 companions and whispered a few words to the man who signed the contract, probably discussing Luo Shen's condition. Seeing that the last chance was about to disappear, Lin Zongheng was desperate. Now he could only hope that Go Depeo would talk less and not tell him out. In another operating room, Han Qian stared at the bright medical lights. He only had local anesthesia and had only one request: be quick. He had to get out of the operating room within an hour. Listening to the sound of needles passing through the skin, Han Qian's face was expressionless. He was worried about Luo Shen, worried that Lin Zongheng or Lu Shenga had bribed people in the hospital to take Luo Shen's life. Guan Yunbiao stood aside in surgical clothes and said calmly. Brother Han, just treat him with peace of mind. The people guarding Luotian are all old men who have been with my master for more than 10 years. Han Qian wanted to speak, but he found that he couldn't make any sound. Slowly, the consequences of requiring a small amount of anesthesia came. There was no part of the body that was not in pain. Beads of cold sweat oozed from his forehead. The nurse kept wiping Han Qian's sweat, but Han Qian never asked for anesthesia. Guan Yunbiao took a step back, squatted on the ground and whispered softly. You have more than 20 stab wounds, large and small. If you don't use general anesthesia, what will happen to the wound on your forehead? Just wait for Xiao Liang to come over and let him guard Luo Shen. Han Qian blinked at the nurse. The nurse narrowed her eyes and seemed to be smiling. Han Qian smiled, blinked twice, and the nurse asked softly. Can I take anesthesia? Han Qian blinked and the nurse said again. 1 injection will hurt, but you will wake up quickly. 2 injections will last a long time. Just tell me in the blink of an eye. Han Qian blinked, and the nurse turned to look at the surgeon. The doctor nodded. In fact, Han Qian's injury was not fatal. The most important problem with his body was excessive blood loss. At 4 o'clock in the morning, Han Qian walked out of the operating room with the support of Guan Yunbiao. Li Jinhai quickly stood up. Han Qian saw that his second uncle had not even had time to change into his soaked police uniform. He smiled, but this smile affected the wounds on his face. Han Qian took a breath and said softly. Second uncle, is Zheng Jing okay? When Li Jinhai mentioned this guy, his face was full of anger and he gritted his teeth. This loser was trapped under the quilt by Feng Lun. I have transferred him back to the bureau to be punished. I found 2 gangsters from the Mid-Autumn Festival massacre in the bathroom on the first floor of your house and have brought him back to the bureau. Why did you come out? Second uncle helped you to rest. Han Qian shook his head gently. Go to Luotian, second uncle. I will tell you the details tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Second uncle, please find me a wheelchair. Sitting in a wheelchair, Guan Yunbiao refused Li Jinhai's request for a pushcart. He pushed Han Qian slowly towards Luotian's operating room. Sul Yang, who was waiting anxiously outside the operating room door, saw Han Qian and trotted over. The movement woke up Lin Zongheng, who was resting on the bench. Lin Zongheng sat up and rubbed his eyes and looked at Han Qian, who was walking over in a wheelchair. His anger welled up in his heart. He got up and ran towards Han Qian at a trot. When he was still 3 to 5 meters away, 2 black men's skins bodyguard grabbed Lin Zongheng's arm. Han Qian smiled at Sul Yang, then nodded to the 2 bodyguards, and they whispered in stiff Chinese. Master! Let Mr. Lin go quickly, my fiancé is still critically ill. After finishing his words, Han Qian slowly stood up and bowed deeply to Lin Zongheng with the support of Sul Yang and Guan Degu. I'm sorry, Mr. Lin, I failed to protect your fiancé. After saying this, Han Qian straightened up and said with narrowed eyes. I disappoint you. At this moment, Lin Zongheng had the intention to kill people. At 6 o'clock in the morning, Luo Shen was pushed out of the operating room. People are still alive. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 634. Chapter 629. The rain in the early morning gradually subsided, and the Yamanmen were busy. Niu Qiudong was so angry that he lost his temper at the Yamanmen for the first time. Feng Lun came, sent him to Han Qian's house, and stripped Zheng Jing naked and tortured him. Outside the balcony. Come with great fanfare and leave with ease. Where does this leave the Yamanmen's face? It took Niu Qiudong half a night to find out. Someone actually took the money for surveillance. Many surveillance systems in the city were not open normally. In anger, many people from the traffic police brigade were fired for investigation, and the personnel responsible for surveillance from the city bureau were fired. Dismiss. The criminal police captains below Lee Jinhai were unloaded and sent home to wait for news. Lee Jinhai was pointed at the nose and scolded by Niu Qiudong for an hour. Cheng Jin is preparing a report. This kind of thing cannot be hidden. 3 people died one night. 3 people died from gunshot wounds and an imported Glock handgun was recovered. Han Qian was injured, and Luo Shen, the eldest lady of the Capital Rock Group, was seriously injured and dying. Unable to suppress the matter at the Yamen gate, Cai Qinghu stood in front of Cheng Jin's desk. Her heart had already flown to the hospital. Cheng Jin shouted twice but Cai Qinghu didn't hear it. In desperation, Cheng Jin shouted loudly. Small lake. I take a leave. No. There are many people who have passed by the hospital, including you. You can prepare this report and send it to the province. I will take full responsibility. You let others send it, I want to go to the hospital. Good. Be obedient. You go back in the afternoon and help me at the Yamen gate. I can let you go to the city bureau to interrogate the 2 gangsters. In addition, I also want to ask you whether Kui Li went to Yashai Pavilion or not. Cai Qinghu frowned and said dissatisfied. I'm not allowed to go out. How do I know? Isn't it the scene you went to? I heard that a gun part and bullets were also found. Let's check for fingerprints. Cheng Jin said with a helpless smile. The rain was so heavy that the fingerprints were gone. Go Depeo died of a gunshot wound. But Guan Yunbiao had entered Yezai Pavilion and searched him carefully but found no gun. So Go Depeo's death was. Cai Qinghu took a step forward, slammed his hands on the table, and said angrily. You suspect that my husband is a gunman? I gave him the gun the night before yesterday, but he didn't want it. Besides, you have dozens of people staring at my husband every day. Is there any chance that he can get the gun? Lao Cheng, don't say you still want to let my husband-in-law take the blame. No, 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 Xiaohuo, don't get excited. Go Depeo is dead. There is nothing to investigate. I want to know about the 2 people who died from gunshot wounds. The forensic examination has confirmed that they suffered blunt injuries to their heads before their death. He was hit hard by a weapon, but it was not fatal. He must have been shot to death after losing the ability to move. Who is this person? Cai Qinghu frowned and growled. Go Depeo, you idiot. That's not right. We found 14 bullet casings at the scene. What I mean is, Xiaohuo, go and ask Han Qian for me. Did Kui Li go to Yashai Pavilion? Why was there something wrong with how I calculated the time? He died by hooking a cannon. Later, Han Qian had a lot of time to escape, and if Luo Shen had been stabbed for so long, he should have died long ago. It can be said that after Go Depeo died, when Han Qian was seriously injured and unable to move, someone else stabbed Luo Shen. Cai Qinghu tilted his head to look at Cheng Jin and said softly. My husband-in-law is seriously injured and unable to move. Do you think my husband-in-law is injured like this? Cheng Jin regretted it and said quickly. Smooth talk. You're just talking nonsense. My husband-in-law is seriously injured and can't move. What am I talking about here? I'm going to the hospital. I'm going to the hospital. Cai Qinghu turned around and ran away, leaving Cheng Jin with a helpless face. In fact, it would be best if Kui Li didn't show up. In the hospital, Han Qian was sleeping, and Guan Yunbiao had already left. After a fight, he couldn't bear it anymore after staying up all night. The most important thing was that Guan Yunbiao was afraid of the interrogation of these empresses. Qianling and Li Jinhe sat beside Han Qian's bed, looking at Han Qian who was sleeping with bandages all over his body. Li Jinhe sighed softly and raised the temperature of the air conditioner by 1 degree. Qianling looked at Han Qian with worried eyes. They had a lot to say, but Han Qian was sleeping now. He heard from the nurse outside the door that he only closed his eyes after 8 o'clock in the morning and kept clamoring to be discharged and go home. Outside the door, Wen Shi nodded to Tu Xiao, and the two of them walked towards the fire escape. Wen Shi took out a cigarette and handed it to Tu Xiao, saying calmly, "Let's make a condition. Your people saved my son's life. Their friendship is theirs, and ours is ours. You don't have to say anything. I'll compensate you with any part of my land." Tu Xiao lit the cigarette, waved his hand, and said with a smile, "What do I want from you? Han Qian's injury this time is not as simple as seeking revenge. I asked Biozi. This kid hasn't acted in a panic in more than 10 years. This time he told me straightforwardly. You can't tell me about this, I didn't press, I guess I know some inside information, oh. When I met Qianling in the morning, she told me to leave it alone, I guess she also knows some inside information." When she blew out a puff of smoke and frowned. "Severely injured?" Tu Xiao shrugged and smiled. "There are 2 cuts of about 3 centimeters on the head, 1 stab wound on the shoulder is the most serious, the bridge of the nose is broken, 2 teeth are missing, more than 20 stab wounds, not deep, the sternum seems to have been hammered. There are some bone fractures, and it is said that there is also trauma to the skull, which will only be known after he wakes up and undergoes a CT scan." "How many died?" 3, 1 is a big gun, and the other 2 are little shrimps. We won't know these things until the little girl from the Luo family wakes up." "I heard something. Originally, the knife that penetrated the little girl from the Luo family was supposed to be, it's on Han Qian's chest." After saying this, Wen Shi frowned and sighed helplessly. Another pile of peach blossom dead. Outside the hospital door, several girls were anxiously waiting for the news inside. Nuan sat on a chair and covered her head. Yan Qingqing was surprised to wear a pair of flat shoes and walked around outside the door. From the morning until now, she has only when Nuan said something to Han Qian, but they didn't even meet. "I just looked at a bunch of cases." Tanjio leaned against the wall, lowered his head and pinched the buttons of his clothes. Yu Shisai asked nonchalantly if he had checked the men's department. He was glared at by Nuan, and Yu Shisai smiled. "I'm different from you. I believe the doctor's words more. The doctor said Han Qian is not in danger, so there is no danger. I will give him a smile after he goes in, instead of you yellow-faced women affecting his mood. Look at you, look at Yates, tisk tisk tisk, there's a gap." Nuan covered his head and frowned. "Okay, so it seems that you understand? You have also read the case. After being injured so seriously, I don't understand why Boss Tu's people are required to protect Luo Shen. It was this woman who harmed Han Qian." Nursery Rhymes whispered. "Han Qian has his reasons. What we should do now is to try to recuperate Han Qian's health. The doctor said he lost too much blood." Yan Qingqing closed her eyes and sighed. "Shall I go back to cook?" After saying this, Wen Nuan stood up suddenly, grabbed Yan Qingqing's wrist, and said seriously, "You'd better be honest. Aunt Ji has already gone back to prepare chicken soup and nutritious meals for Han Qian. You can wait here quietly for me. Why hasn't Qinghe come over yet? Find out who is suffering from 1,000 knives as soon as possible." While talking, Cai Qinghe trotted over and was about to open the door. As soon as her hand grasped the armrest, 4 softies held her wrist, and Nursery Rhyme whispered, "Just went to bed." Yan Qingqing answered, "Take off your high heels." Nuan asked softly, "Do you know who did it?" Yu Shisai simply pulled Cai Qinghe aside. Facing the 4 women's questioning, Cai Qinghe sneered, and the next second, 4 hands pinched her face at the same time. "Dare you sneer? Cai Kinghu quickly raised her hand, and the four women let go. She rubbed her face and whispered. All three are dead. I only received a little bit of news, but I don't want to say it. After the words fell, the four women stretched out their hands again. Cai Kinghu hurriedly covered his face with his hands and whispered. I say. It was Guan Daegu who arrived in time to save my husband's life. Apart from these three who were already dead, I called and asked the people present at the time. They were sure that there was a fourth person who wanted to kill. My dear, Guan Yunbiao was also injured by this person. Also, let me tell you another news, do you want to hear it? Little girl, come and listen. The one who spoke was not the four girls who were about to pinch Cai Kinghu's face, but when she who walked back with Tu Xiao. Cai Kinghu stood up and bowed. Hello Uncle Wen, thank you for your hard work, Boss Tuesday. Then Cai Kinghu stood up, frowned and whispered. After passing through the Yamanmen and reconstructing the crime scene, I made a bold guess that it was Go Daepeo who first kidnapped Luo Shen and then threatened my husband-in-law. The Maserati was hit by a Porsche on the road and rolled over the cliff. Go was found in the Maserati's car. The height of the cannon's hair should have been about 17 or 18 meters when it fell off the cliff. Fortunately, it was a slope and fortunately it was a rainy day. In front of Wenxi, Cai Kinghu was thinking about Xiaojiju, and when she felt a little proud, Wen Nuan stood behind her and stretched out her hand to pinch Cai Kinghu's face. The face that was pinched by four women just now was still hurting. Cai Kinghu quickly took a step forward, covered his face and continued. There was a shooting at the place where the cliff fell, and a piece of meat was found. It was hooked to a cannon. It looked like it was bitten off by someone. I don't know whether it was Xiang Hanqian or Luo Shen. From a reasoning point of view, it should be my husband. First, I fought with Go Daepeo. After seriously injuring Go Daepeo, two more people appeared with watermelon knives and wanted to kill my husband. Most of the stab wounds on their bodies were caused by these two people, but when they were seriously injured and hammered to death, someone he showed up and killed both of them on the spot with a gun. This person is definitely not a hooker. I have told you everything I know. You are pinching me and I will fight you. The four women who were about to take action hid their hands behind their backs. When she glanced at Tu Xiao, then walked to the door of the ward and pushed in. Wen, who was still trying to sneak in, was grabbed by the hair with four hands. When she was immediately furious. He turned around and was about to speak, but was pinched by four hands. Lived his face. She froze. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 635. It was already 3 o'clock, and the Luotian next door had already woken up, but Han Qian was still sleeping again. Li Jinhe called the doctor over with some worry. The doctor checked Han Qian's condition and gently shook Han Qian's shoulder. Han Qian slowly opened his eyes and spoke a word between his teeth. Roll. He was very sleepy, so sleepy that he felt tired even when he opened his eyes. The doctor turned to look at Li Jinhe and shrugged. The patient's mental state is very good. He is just sleepy due to overexertion. He will wake up in about an hour or two. Li Jinhe thanked him softly. Han Qian heard his mother-in-law's voice and wanted to get up, but sleepiness enveloped his whole nerves. He fell asleep again, but this time he slept very lightly. He could hear the doctor and mother-in-law talking while he was half asleep and half awake. Conversation. In the next ward, Luo Shen has woken up. Fortunately, the stabbing didn't go deep, it only hurt the lobe of the lung. I heard the doctor said that if it had been an inch deeper, even the gods wouldn't be able to save my life. Not long after Luo Shen woke up, only half an hour later, she stared at the roof with wide eyes. The pain in her back and right leg made her want to cry, but she had already dried up her tears on that rainy night. He would recall what Go Daepeo said, and the fight that night. Luo Shen once thought that this kind of fight could only happen on TV, and thought that all the heroes saving beauties on TV were fake. Luo Shen did not regret blocking the knife for Han Qian. It was because of her that she met Go De Peo, and Kui Li came for Han Qian. Save your life, don't owe each other anything. Luo Shen took a deep breath and turned his head to look at the two men sitting in the ward. Do not know. For half an hour they pressed the pager once and said nothing. Luo Shen's pale face showed a hint of danger, and he said softly, "Thank you all." The two men did not speak, but glanced at Luo Shen, and then turned their eyes to the door. Someone came in. Several doctors and nurses walked into the ward. When they were still 3 meters away from the bed, the two men stretched out their hands. Certificate. The doctor seemed to be used to it. He took out his ID and showed it to the two of them before they were released. The doctor stepped forward and asked about Luo Shen's physical condition, gave some instructions and then left. They want to go back to the office to administer medicine to Luo Shen's physical condition. Not a minute after the doctor left, the door was violently pushed open, and Lin Zongheng ran into the room like a mad dog, shouting loudly. "Little God, are you awake? You are really worried about me. Why don't you let me take this stab for you?" His body was stopped. Two men in black looked at Lin Zongheng coldly and refused to let him get close to the hospital bed. Lin Zongheng glared at the two of them, but these two people didn't care about the eldest young master of the Lin family at all. The order they received was to stop him. The two sides were in a stalemate. At this time Luo Shen spoke. "Let my fiancé come over." The two men in black put down their hands and stepped away. Lin Zongheng quickly stepped forward and grabbed Luo Shen's hand, saying sadly and angrily, "Little God, you are really worried about me. I have been waiting for you at home since you went out. After I received the news that you were injured, I felt that my sky had collapsed. I found that you have become a part of my body. Without you, even breathing is a luxury for me." These words made the two men in black feel sick. Last night, at the door of the operating room, there was this guy who said he had difficulty breathing, lying on the chair and sleeping very soundly. Luo Shen broke free, gently stroked the side of Lin Zongheng's face, and smiled softly. "I'm sorry if you were worried." Lin Zongheng's eyes were full of affection, and he seemed to have forgotten that he was the one who called Luo Shen that night to trick Luo Shen out. He didn't remember, but Luo Shen did. When he was about to hold Luo Shen's hand again, Luo Shen had already retracted his hand under the quilt and continued to stare at the ceiling in a daze. Lin Zongheng was stunned for a moment, and then said softly, "Baby, are you thirsty? Are you hungry? Are you feeling uncomfortable somewhere? Everything is fine, don't worry." Luo Shen's voice was very soft and light, and she smiled slightly at Lin Zongheng, revealing 2 pair dimples. Luo Shen was already a beauty, and with her current fragile appearance, Lin Zongheng was also very moved. If it wasn't for profit, he really wouldn't mind Luo Shen making her a pet. Lin Zongheng turned around and shouted angrily at the two men in black. "My fiancé has woken up. You can leave. We don't need you people from District 8 to interfere with our Lin family's affairs." After finishing his words, he turned around and reached into the quilt to hold Luo Shen's hand, saying angrily, "It's just that they didn't let me see you last night, and they didn't let me sign the name on your critical illness notice. In order not to worry about your surgery, I tolerated them for a long time. I'll ask our bodyguard to come here, little one. Don't worry, God, I will find out what happened and avenge you. Little God, please tell me." "Zongheng." Luo Shen frowned and called Lin Zongheng's name, and Lin Zongheng said quickly, "Zongheng is here, brother Zongheng is here." Luo Shen took out his hand and said softly, "I'm a little tired, so let them stay here. The Lin family's bodyguards should protect uncle and you. I'm out of the way here." You can go about your business and I'll take a nap. I'll be with you. Seeing Luo Shen closing his eyes, Lin Zongheng's face was full of distress. Until he heard the even breathing, Lin Zongheng slowly stood up, glared at the two men fiercely, and then strode out of the ward. The moment the door closed, Luo Shen opened his eyes and shouted weakly. Can you give me some water? I'm very thirsty. In fact, Luo Shen was so thirsty that her throat was about to smoke. When she first woke up, she didn't know the identity of these two men. She didn't dare to speak rashly. If it was Lin Zongheng's person, she would be dead. But since she just opened Lin Zongheng's, Zongheng learned from his words that they were from District 8. In other words, they are Han Qian's people. One of the men got a glass of water and handed it to Luo Shen, saying in a low voice. You needed a blood transfusion during the operation last night. The young master of the Lin family said that you should use his blood, but we refused. The critical illness notice is related to your operation. We were worried that he would waste time, so he signed it with my name. Luo Shen's eyelids trembled as she drank water. Unexpectedly, after she fell into coma, Lin Zongheng still refused to give up. He has type of blood, and Luo Shen would definitely die if he used his blood. Putting down the water glass, Luo Shen said softly. Thank you. Can you lend me your cell phone? I want to call my father. The man took out his cell phone and handed it to Luo Shen, who entered the number and dialed it. Brother, let Dad answer the phone. Not long after, Luo Shen choked up in a low voice. Dad, I'm in the hospital. I'll be at Binhai in 2 hours. Luo Shen hung up the phone, returned the phone to the man, and said softly. No matter what others say, don't leave. Don't leave. After hearing the man's affirmative answer, Luo Shen closed his eyes. In another room, Han Qian didn't want to wake up anymore. Several girls came in anyway. When Nuan sat on the bed with a cotton swab and poked Han Qian's face. At first, Han Qian could bear it, but then he heard until someone said to put some water on his lips. This was also bearable. When he heard that someone wanted to feed him mouth-to-mouth water, Han Qian moved his mouth tightly, and Aunt Ji's voice rang in his ears. How about opening your mouth? Then the sound of nursery rhymes came. No, look how tight it is. I'll go to the doctor and ask for a pair of pliers. I also heard that the doctor has a hammer and a crowbar. Han Qian shivered, opened his eyes hurriedly and said. No. I'll drink it myself, even the poison. Looking at the people in the room, Han Qian wanted to die for a moment. Who has such a big mouth? Seeing the water flowing from the corner of Yan Qingqing's mouth, Han Qian ignored the drip on his hand and took a sip of mineral water, then coughed. Aunt Ji sat next to Han Qian and patted his back gently. Han Qian leaned half of his body on Ji Jing's soft body and said helplessly. Where's Mom? Nuan shrugged. I went home and said I would come over to see you tomorrow. Oh. I'm going to the bathroom. After finishing speaking, Yan Qingqing took the mineral water bottle. Han Qian's face turned dark instantly, and Cai Qinghu spoke absent-mindedly. He's not that little. As soon as these words came out, she instantly became the focus of everyone's attention. Cai Qinghu hurriedly covered his face and explained in a low voice that it was a guess. The eyes of the women were full of suspicion. Ji Jing raised her hand and gently pinched Han Qian's ear. Said softly in his ears again. You hid it from me. No. Absolutely not. Help me to the toilet. The injuries on my legs are not serious, mainly on my shoulders and head. This sentence was clearly heard by Nuan. She walked forward and helped Han Qian out of bed with Ji Jing, chattering in a low voice. You also know that your head was injured. There was a blood clot in your head that didn't disperse. Now it's gone. The blood clot has dispersed and your head is open again. Han Qian glanced at Yan Qingqing, who was holding an intravenous drip, and then said. That's the reason why you hit me on the head for nothing. My head was hit in a car accident. I'm in King Hu. Why are you picking up Mr. Yan? Cai King Hu stepped forward after hearing the sound, took the drip in Yan King's hand, glanced down at Yan Qingqing, the corners of his eyes were full of contempt. Yan Qingqing was not angry, raised his hands to support his chest, and sighed softly that it was so heavy. Cai King Hu stiffened in the same place, it was as if he had suffered 10,000 points of damage. When Han Qian walked into the bathroom, Yan Qingqing insisted on following him. Han Qian's hands are inconvenient, so I'll help him hold it tight so he doesn't wet his pants. After she finished speaking, 2 hands were placed on her shoulders. Yushisai and Nursery Rhymes looked at Yan Qingqing with wary faces, and Yan Qingqing raised her hands helplessly. Okay. I won't go and wet my pants for you two to wash. At this time, Cai King Hu followed Han Qian into the bathroom with narrowed eyes and a smile. Everyone was angry but helpless. There was no way, the drip was on someone else's hand. Listening to the sound of running water in the bathroom, Yan Qing's eyes were red with anger. Han Qian walked out of the bathroom, lowered his head and returned to the bed to cover his face with the quilt. Cai King Hu registered for intravenous drip and turned around with a smile. Do you want to know? 4 hands pinched Cai King Hu's face. Cai King Hu suddenly became furious and knocked off the 4 claws with his hand, saying angrily. Can you 4 stop pinching me together?